Hello everyone, welcome back. We're working on the Ferrari 360 again. We're putting the bumper on, and we're going to be putting some of the interior panels in the engine compartment back on today. And we've got a few other things that we'll be doing too. So maybe the interior panels. Depends on how far we get today with time. But we're starting to put this bumper on, and we'll proceed on. All right, we've got the bumper reattached. Don't forget your side marker light. You've got the two fasteners here. Now this one's got two in the back there, you can see. Most American cars will have 4 fasteners. It's a little bit different setup. This, like I said, this is a European spec car, so it's got some differences. So anyway, we've got these all secured, tightened up. We're going to put this inner fender well back together and then put the tire back on. All right, so we've got the rear bumper on. We've got the inner fender wells on both sides. Like I said, don't forget, you got your 2 bolts here. And then on this car, it's got 2 bolts to hold on the main structure. Same on the other side. So bumper's back on. We're going to go ahead and then put the side panels on in the engine compartment. So that's what we're doing next. All right, so we've reinstalled the cover over the top. And you got 2 pieces of hardware here, 2 on the other side. Other than that, that's all holds that on. We've got those installed. Now we're going to go ahead and reinstall the inner fender liners, or inner engine compartment liners here on both sides. So that's what we're doing next. All right, we've reinstalled the rear panels here on both sides of the little storage nets also. We're going to go ahead and probably put this compartment back on, and then we'll probably be done with this area for right now, and then move on. We've got the storage compartment back in. Like I see, you have 2 fasteners on the left, 2 on the right, and 3 on your compartment at the bottom, which I think those are like a number 3 Allen, and then the bolts are number 8. So that's installed. We're probably going to go ahead and put the side panels on here. Those are just, they got a couple screws that go in this seat belt holder here, and then the panel just kind of pushes on with friction. So we're going to go ahead and install that, and then probably go on and move to a different area, because we're going to leave the seats out temporarily. All right, so we're the side panel. Don't forget to attach the seat belt guide here. It's got 2 fasteners in it. Reattach those, and then make sure your little fir tree things here are in good condition, and they just slide in. There should be 4, so they just line it up. You may have to get the seal out of the way to get it in there. The seal is kind of in the way, but other than that, it just pushes right in. All right, so we've got the passenger seat in already. I'm going to show you how the driver's seat. Passenger's the same way. Here's your seat belt. The label's got to go inboard. See the label here? That's going to go towards the seat itself, and then you're going to slide it through here. All right, and so slide that through there, give yourself some slack, and then once you get that in there, you're going to come up from the bottom here and install this bolt and a washer. So this washer is going to go on the back side of the attach point for the seat belt, and then this bolt's going to come through the front. So it allows the seat belt to move back and forth. And this is a 17 millimeter. So I'm going to go ahead and install that. But like I said, I'd show you, but it's kind of difficult. So anyway. So I actually got the washer. Like I said, it comes in from the back side. You can see it here. And then the bolt will go through, and then it'll, attach to the seat. So that's how that fits. All right, we've got that secured. Like I said, the seat belt should move back and forth if installed correctly. And then we're going to go ahead and just snap this in, just like that. And then we're going to put the seat back in the tracks, or on the floor, and put the tracks on. We've got our seats installed. Seat belts are in. We've got these brackets on the forward seat belt or tracks. This one here is broke, so the customer's going to order a new one. We're going to leave this out. But your cars may or may not have those on there still at this time, but they did come with covers on the front only. They're right here, and they slide on the track. So they're all secure now. So the inside of the car is pretty much complete. So like I said, we've got other stuff we're going to move on to. All right, we've got the car back in the air. We're going to do a few things underneath here. We need to reinstall this panel back on here, get that installed, and then we're going to go ahead and drain the rest of the coolant, try to flush that out, and then service it. So we're going to go ahead and do that. All right, we've got our panel reinstalled, 4 screws in there. So we're going to go ahead and move to the front. We're going to go ahead and replace this forward under tray. As you can see here, we have a new one. Customer brought over a new tray here. So we're going to go ahead and remove the old one, and then we're going to drain the coolant and then reinstall this. All right. All right, as you can see here, here's the old one. It's been repaired. It's busted up pretty good. It's got a bunch of repairs that are coming apart. So like I said, we're going to remove this panel and then drain the coolant, the rest of the coolant out of the radiators, and then service the coolant system. All right. So we've got the tray off. You can see here, it's got a bunch of damage on it. Kind of several locations there, all across. Actually, this is still repairable. I mean, it's not horrible, but if somebody wanted to repair it, they could and reinstall it. But he bought a new one. So now we've got that off, we're going to go ahead and drain the coolant. And so on the back of the radiators here, towards the wheels, you'll see a drain. Yeah, let me get better light on there. There's one right here on the passenger side. And then you've got another one over here on the driver's side. So you can remove these, drain the rest of the coolant, and then we're going to go ahead and put them back in and then service the coolant. So that's what we're doing right now, and we'll see what happens next. So I did notice, though, that these little rubber grommets here, you're going to have to transfer those to the new one. So most likely, if you do get a replacement panel, they probably won't come with them. So we're going to go ahead and transfer those and see if we can get those knocked out here. So it'd probably take 2 hands. So you can see that we've just transferred these. The little one goes to the outboard side here. The big one's on the inboard, if you forget. So yeah, anyway, we're going to go ahead and continue to drain the coolant. All right, so you can see we've got the drain plug out. Got some coolant dripping from there. Let that drip for a few minutes, and then like I said, I got a picture of the plug here. Here's the plug. It's pretty fragile, so don't go crazy with it. Make sure the O-ring's in good condition. This one looks like it's in decent shape, so we're going to go ahead and reuse this. We'll let this sit there for a few minutes, and then like I said, the other side the same way. So we're going to let that drip. All right, we've got both sides drained. Like I said, don't forget to reinstall these and make sure they're snug. Like I said, I wouldn't go too crazy tight with them because they are plastic and you'll break them. So that one's installed on the passenger side. Driver's side installed also. It's snug. So we're ready to pull a vacuum on the system and see where it goes. Hopefully we find no leaks, and then we'll service it up. All right. So the next thing we're going to do now, we've got our plugs back in on the radiators up front. All our lines are hooked up. Clamps are all secured. So we're going to go ahead, take the cap off here, and then we're going to draw a vacuum on the system for a while and make sure we don't have any leaks. So we're going to go ahead and get that set up. If anybody wants to know what tool we use this tool made by Maddox Superior Automotive Tools. It's a cooling system test and refill kit, MH-1B. So that's the box and the tool that that's what comes with it here. It's got some instructions, and then it's got different size adapters here, and this is like a universal to fit the different coolant tanks that you may, or expansion tanks. Take this out here. I have to put this little fitting on here. It won't fit in the box with that installed, so I had to take that off every time. It's a pain, but you got to deal with it. So anyway, I'm going to take that, get that set up on the coolant tank there, and then we're going to draw a vacuum with an air compressor. All right. So getting this set up here, if you're using that tool, you're going to need a 35 millimeter adapter that comes with the tool to fit in the tank here to take up the gap. So 35 millimeter, then we're going to install the tool, and then it has a collar on there that you're going to tighten up and get it secure. So let me go ahead and get that set up. All right, so we've got the tool installed, and it's pretty tight right now. I use a little bit of Vaseline between the two pieces of rubber. So we're going to go ahead. This tube here goes in your bucket, which I have full here, and I'm using the Xerox G48. So that's what we're servicing it with. It's a phosphorus-free formula, or they call it an HOT, I think. I might have that wrong, but yeah, organic acid technology, which is for all aluminum cooling systems. So it's recommended by Ferrari. They use actually a glycol shell, but that's kind of difficult to get here, but this is an equivalent to that. I have 3 gallons in the bucket currently. Your system may take more or less than that, depends on how much coolant was removed. Like I said, it's going to vary. So when you're doing this, you want to keep that fill tube submerged. So this right here, you want that submerged the whole time. You have to lean the bucket once it gets lower towards the bottom, but you don't want it to suck any air. But we're going to go ahead and set this up and start the fill process. I've got the hose hooked up. Like I said, we're going to pull like 25, 26 inches of mercury approximately and let it sit for 10, 15 minutes. Let it stabilize when you first shut your hose off, because it may move just slightly, and then it should stabilize. So once it stabilizes, then you start your timer or whatever, and you shouldn't really have any kind of drop in your vacuum. So we're going to go ahead and start drawing. It's going to be a little loud. I won't record the whole thing. So you start seeing it pulling some vacuum on it. Just make sure this other valve is shut. That will cause a leak also. We're going to let it sit here for a minute or so. It's slowed down. It's still climbing. You kind of want to get to its maximum point so it fills every void in the system. So it's been on there for a minute or so, and it looks like it's kind of stalled out at 25. So we're going to go ahead and shut this off. It may have an initial drop, but it should stabilize. All right, we'll sit there for a few minutes. Like I said, we're just a hair under 25 inches of mercury. I don't know if you can see that. So we're going to let it sit there for a few minutes. Like I said, 10 minutes, 15 should be good enough. But we can disconnect the air hose. If you do have a leak, it could be your connection down here. Could be causing the leak also. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and disconnect the hose here and see what happens here in the next 10-15 minutes. All right, so after about 5-6 minutes, we're still pretty stable where we're at before. I read the instructions again for the specific tool. It says you only have to do 1 to 2 minutes. Like I said, shut your valve, it should stabilize, and then start your timer after the needle stabilizes. And 1 to 2 minutes should be sufficient according to the instructions. Other than that, I guess it's looking good here. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and put this in the bucket, and then open the other valve here that's connected to the tube here, and then draw our coolant into the system. So try to do that right now. Like I said, you want to keep this submerged the whole time. So you want to get that in the bucket and keep submerged. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Hopefully I can, this hose is kind of wanting to curl up on me. And try to get this done. So bear with me here. All right, so I've opened the valve up halfway. It's starting to draw the coolant into the system. And as the coolant is drawn in, you're going to obviously see your needle drop. Try not to move the gauge too much, because if you move the gauge back and forth, it could create a vacuum leak, which then it won't draw the right amount of coolant into the system. So we'll sit here. This might take a few minutes. I could open the valve a little faster, but if it works correctly, it should draw all the fluid into the system, and we should not have any air gaps in the cooling system. So we're going to go ahead and let this draw in. Okay, at this point we've reached 0, and as you can see here, our bucket is almost completely empty. This was 3 gallons. I think the system, if it's completely dry, will take a little over 4 gallons. But like I said, you're not going to get all the fluid out, so your system's going to vary. But 3 gallons was sufficient. We'll run the car and then recheck. May have to add some fluid later on. But yeah, it looks like it's done drawing in. Like you can see, we're at 0 here. So we're going to go ahead and remove all this and see how it turned out. All right, so you can see now I removed the equipment. The coolant level is a little high, but I wouldn't remove any. It's going to like push excess out automatically anyway. But what we'll do is we'll start it. We'll put the cap on. You don't want to take the cap off while it's running, because it will burp it out and it'll make a big mess. So leave the cap on and then let it run. You may see a little bit of fluid come out of this expansion tube here. That's what it's for. So we'll check it once it's cooled down a little bit, and then it should be about halfway down. You should be able to stick your finger in it. Maybe your fingertip will touch it. But yeah, it's showing excess of fluid right now, but I don't want to take any out, because in case it does have an air pocket in it. But most air pockets should be there shouldn't be any in the system. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and start the car and see what happens. Put this back on. Like I said, you want this back on to properly test this out. So we're going to go ahead and start the car. Oh, and also when you have your car running, you want to turn your heater controls to full hot, which will bleed the system. So we're going to go ahead, and when we do that, we'll have the heat and everything to full hot, blowers full, all the way up. So we're going to go ahead and do that. All right, so we've just finished running the car for a little bit. The weather here is kind of bad. I need to push it outside and run it a little longer. I was starting to get it fumigated. So I'm going to let this sit a little bit. Everything seemed like it was normal so far. I didn't see any leaks or anything. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and lift the car up and drain the oil at this time. So I've taken the cap here loose. Gonna let that sit there, and then I'm going to raise it up and drain the oil. Okay, we're going to go ahead and start draining the oil. This is a 12 millimeter, and the one back here is also 12. So we're going to go ahead and drain the oil from those 2 points. And then once the oil is drained, we're going to go ahead and take the screen out here and check it for debris in that. Since I'm not familiar with this car, I'm going to check this. Normally, I don't do this every time. I mean, it's up to you. You can do it every time if you need to. But there's some O-rings on there and stuff. A lot of times you order these kits from like these suppliers. They don't give those to you. So if you're replacing this or checking this, you may want to get some new O-rings. But a lot of times they sell you the kits. It's only for the 2 drain plugs here and your oil filter up top. So I'm going to go ahead and drain this now and then remove that filter assembly. So we've got our old drain plug here. I usually keep them just as a backup. To me, they never look that bad. So we're going to change it out though. Matter of fact, this is his new one. So this is the old crush washer here. And I don't know if you guys realize this, but on these things, there's actually 2 different sides. If you look at it closely, one side is flatter than the other. And this one here has got some like curves to it. So the curved portion actually would go against the plug. All right. And then the flat is going to go towards the engine side. So if you ever change these, look at them and you'll see there's a difference. One side's got more of a rounded edge. This is kind of a squared off edge. The squared off edge goes towards the block or the engine. You can actually reuse these. You can re-anneal them, which is basically heating them back up. But a lot of people just change them. I mean, so if the condition of them don't look too bad. If you don't have a new one, you could probably reuse it. But anyway, he's got a new one here. We're going to go ahead and install it. But anyway, I thought I'd just give you a little bit of that information. So we've got our plugs back in. The one here and the one up here. They're torqued up. That's supposed to be 55 foot-pounds or 75 newton meters. But, man, that's awful tight. So you want to watch, you don't strip those out. If it feels like it's going to strip, I wouldn't go any further. But that's what the torques are. And we're going to go ahead and take this filter out here, this screen. So we're going to go ahead, this is 10 millimeter. We're going to pull this out. Be gentle with this. This is plastic. You may crack if you side load it. So be gentle with it. All right, so I've got the screen here, this finger screen here moved. This is in the oil system. Like I said, it's got 2 bolts to hold that in, or 2 little screws. You may want to change these O-rings and then lube them up before you put it back in. But that here was removed from the side. As you can see right here, that's where that was located. Let me see if I get better right there. So that slides in there. So be careful with that. Like I said, if you side load it, you could snap these ears off. It's just a piece of plastic, okay? So if you have any holes in this thing, which I have seen, you want to replace this. I've had a customer before that had a hole in his, and we replaced his. So yeah, if it's got a hole in it, it doesn't do any good. So anyway, if you have any particles on it, if it has a few little specks here and there, I wouldn't really get worried. If it's got a lot, it's got a lot of heavy material in there, because if it had any engine work as of late, it may have some material in there. Let's say if you take the valve covers off, and you may have some RTV or something stuck on this. So you want to pay particular attention at that. If you do have something on there, maybe take it out, clean it off, put 100 miles back on the car and see what it looks like, pull it out again. I mean, you're going to have to drain the oil because you can't pull this out without draining the oil. So if you pull this out, you're going to get all the oil out too. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and lube these O-rings up and reinstall this. All right, so we hit this screen out for the oil system there, and the O-ring, the one right here, was torn, and it looked like someone from last time tried to repair this. It was like sealant around it, so that was kind of crazy. But these are actually two different part numbers. They look the same, but I don't know what the difference is. If one's wider than that, but this one actually fits here. But these are actually two different part numbers. So the part numbers I had pulled up. I actually don't have it up right now, but these are very expensive. Like one's like $20 some odd, and the other one's like $30. So yeah, like $50 worth of O-rings here that probably should cost less than $1 in reality. But that's where we're at. We can't stick this in until we get the new ones. So I told the customer he's ordering them right now. So we have to wait before we can reinstall this and put the oil in it. So that's where we stand on this, okay?